fucking bugs around here. It's hard to look cool when you got bugs flying in your ear. Well, as we have our last few minutes of sunlight here, I wanted to talk to you about racism. There's been a lot of talk about racism. And in this country, I think people really think about it the wrong way. In this country, racism is kind of perceived as being a dumb thing. It's a product of stupidity, of inbreeding. People always say that racists are inbred, which is a racist statement when you think about it. So it's calling them dumb or having a lack of education. Or they might think they're just being assholes on purpose. And like these fucking bugs that are bugging around me right now. I don't think that's the case. What a lot of people know, sociologists know this, psychologists, and a lot of the elite know it, but they don't tell people. It's a simple thing. Racism is a byproduct of an instinctual fear that all humans have of anybody that's different than us. Okay, this goes back to the caveman days. If back then you saw somebody who you didn't know and they weren't part of your tribe, you needed to be wary of that person because you didn't know what was going to happen. They might club you over the head and rape your women and steal all your stuff in your cave. So you learn to be wary of anybody that's outside of your group. And race is just the easiest way to tell the difference between groups. Even if we all looked the same, there would still be a type of groupism. We wouldn't have racism because we would all be the same race, but we'd still divide ourselves up into groups. I grew up in an area of Kentucky called the Tri-County area, and it was right where Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky meet with the Ohio River separating them. And people in Kentucky would make fun of people in Indiana. People in Indiana would make fun of people in Kentucky, and then people in Ohio would make fun of how dumb the people in Indiana and Kentucky were. And I'd be like, look, you motherfuckers, I can see all of you. There's just some water in between us, guys, okay? There's no difference. But that's what people do. They divide themselves up into groups. It's us and them. In New York, people on 56th Street make fun of people on 57th Street. We divide up into groups, teams like sports. I'm going to do another story about how ridiculous sports is, but that's our group against their group. And the reason it's our group is because they have the name of our city on their uniform. Yeah, sure, the owner and the players might not live in my city and they might only come here 8 days out of the year to play games here, but they have their name of my city written on their uniform, so I'm going to root for them. That's the mentality of people. And it's not just about race. You could be the same race and still hate each other, okay? Ask your Japanese friends what they think of Chinese people. Go to China and ask them what they think of the Japanese. Go to Korea and ask the South Koreans what they think of the North Koreans. What about white people? Let's go over to Ireland and ask them what they think of the English. Let's ask the Scottish what they think of the English. Ask the English what they think of the French. Ask the French what they think of the Germans. Ask the Germans what they think of the Russians, and so on and so forth. They're all white. They should get along, right? No. Well, let's go to the Middle East. Don't even need to ask. Go to Africa. Ask anybody in any country what they think of the people in the other country. They're all racist against each other. Color doesn't matter. It's an instinctual fear that we all feel. Now, why is that important? When you're armed with that knowledge, that gives you understanding and allows you to have compassion for people who are being racist against you, okay? So when somebody's afraid of you, how do they act? They are mean. They say mean things to you. They might insult you. They might yell at you, right? Because they're afraid of you. That's typical racist behavior, wouldn't you say? Okay, so let's use an analogy here. I love stories like this. Let's say you're walking down the street and you see a friend of yours coming the other way, and he's just bought himself a brand new pit bull as a guard dog. And your friend sees you and he knows you and he waves, but the pit bull has never seen you before. So his instincts say, this is a stranger. And just attacks and just starts yelling, barking, and you're like, now there's a couple of ways you could react right there. You could go, what the fuck, what an asshole dog. This dog is dumb. This dog must be inbred. This dog hasn't been trained. It's a stupid dog. It's violent. Oh, this dog needs to be chained up at all times. And it tried to bite me. You should kill that dog. That dog needs to be put to sleep. Now the dog's fear of you is justified. Now its instinctual fear to bark at you and to bite at you is completely justified because you want to kill it. You think that dog's going to make friends with you now? It knows that you want it to die. So that's one way you could react. That's the typical way that people react to racism. But if you know that the dog is having an instinctual reaction, a fear reaction that it can't control, that no amount of training can instill in it, probably, because it hasn't been around you. It hasn't had the experience of being around you and of knowing that you're all right. That allows you to understand the dog's barking and kind of ignore it, kind of ignore that it's biting at you, and just keep yourself safe. And then, when given the opportunity, use whatever way you can to show the dog, hey, I'm not a threat. I want to be your friend. Let's be buddies. And the dog might be wary of you for a long, long time, but I bet if you keep doing that, eventually you'll win him over. And eventually he'll be like, oh, this guy's okay. Yeah, he's friends with yeah, we're cool. Isn't that a much better reaction to racism and instinctual fears? The more you know. Chemtrails. Good luck.